course, I didn't sign in. Okay. Okay, so we continue. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. New spirit of having a plan. We're going to have a plan. Our plan is to buy or hold. Obviously, if it fits your situation, buy or hold for the next 3 weeks. And right today, the stock is cheap, but you don't know. Any one day, it can snap back with like a rubber band. But I do not think the stock is going to easily go above 40 cents during this next fortnight and maybe longer. So remember, we're not going to anguish. We're not going to gnash our teeth, not going to gaze at our belly button. You aren't going to regret what you did. You can put it on my shoulders. Blame me. I was wrong. Just say William was wrong. But that doesn't change that you didn't make a good decision. You haven't studied it, and you're not. And it doesn't mean you're not in an investment that's going to give you potentially phenomenal returns. One of the reasons it's low priced, one of the reasons it's called speculative, is we can't control everything. We can't predict everything, timing. But the way you exercise your power over your situation is buy. There's an old expression in all the wars and all the civil uprisings in real estate: buy while there's blood in the streets. Well, apply that here. Buy while it's down. There's huge volume today in the United States. I don't know if that's some of you selling for your own reasons. Some of it might be real. I don't think so. I didn't take a picture of it, but on Yahoo about half an hour ago, today's volume was about 25 million shares. When I looked up the historical volume, it always moves around. And then on my service here, it was over 200. No, it's 366,000. So it could be somebody's just dumping it in the US. But remember, that same bracket where we're buying and we never make it go up. I don't think we can really make it go down by our trading in the United States. So maybe somebody is taking advantage of that. There it is, 52.5 for sale. It's always 52.5. You see it? 52.5. It's always there for sale. It never goes away. It never gets sold. So it's a manipulated price, but some of you may insist that the stock price is telling you something. That if it were so good, somebody in Canada would be breaking the law and front running the news. Well, that might be true, but it doesn't seem that they do that much up in Canada, at least as it relates to this stock. But it's an argument. It's an argument, I guess, to be negative, but we're going to remember, we're leaving all the negativity behind. So your power is, while other people perhaps are just disgusted and getting out or tax loss selling, or while the systemic selling just continues and continues and continues. And during a period of time when the buyers in Canada can't buy, and probably, even if they could, the main decision makers might be on vacation, we're going to take advantage of that. We're going to buy it. It's cheap. I'm going to go through some of the pages of the presentation, but the simplest, the very simple, can't make it any more simple. Calculation that you can do, and you can do your own calculation. You can adjust anything, but if we go with the lowest possible, possibly known number, remember, it's future. Projections that matter. You don't have to book it. It's the future projections. Also remember that once it's established, it remains. What word could I use for that? Stable? Permanent? I mean, nothing's permanent, but in the context of, I'll say, lasting. So it's projectable, and it's got duration. I'll use that word. I like that word better. It's got duration. So we're going to use, we know two numbers, and then there's one number we have to estimate. It's up to you. And you can estimate these other numbers. You actually know more on one of them, but I'm just trying to bring it to rock bottom, and we know that number. At rock bottom, we know the number. And there's two. We also know the number of shares. So we know those numbers. Those are known numbers. So we know that what matters is future revenue projection. And this revenue, once it's established, will have many years, if not decades, of duration. We know the lowest, which I'm about to show you again, from their documents, that the network of companies at AIP, they currently spend $120 million on hosting in order to generate their revenues. We know that number. It's in the investor document. We also know what the number of shares. It's a little less than 225. So these are known. If we want to come up with a rock bottom number of what somebody's going to figure out is future revenues. What we don't know. What is the revenue split? Does Railtown get 10%? Does it get 40%? I personally think both those numbers are wrong. Does it get 30% and maybe 12.5%? Personally, I think those are wrong. Does it get 15%, 25%? I don't know. That's starting to get a little more reasonable. Right in the middle is 20%. But you can use your own number. You can sit down and play with it. So we don't really know that number, and I don't know if we ever will. But I'm going to assume that Railtown receives 20% in revenue sharing. Could it be 15, 10? Could it be 30? Who knows? But I don't think it's 10. That's too low for all the effort. I don't know about 40 or 50. That's way too high. Anyway, we'll use 20. You can use a different number. And the number we come up with in simplicity, you can cut it in half if you think it is a 10% number. The other thing we don't know is what multiple to use. We have some choices. We can use just a low multiple of what would a company be willing to pay for. Well, actually, I left one other thing out. We know that the margin here is as close to 100% as possible. We don't know the exact one. We never will. But this is a revenue split. So it's not like Railtown has to go into the data center and walk the halls or shoo the electrons to and fro. It's just a revenue split. So anyway, what we don't know, in the oil and gas business, when it's a kind of neutral market, one rule of thumb is to use give or take. I mean, it depends on the quality of the project, and it depends on the life of the reserves and all that. But one rule of thumb, when things are going well, and if you have some upside, which I think you got tons of other upside with Railtown, is you pay 7 times the cash flow. I mean, in bear markets or in capital starved markets, you can pay a lot less. But 7 times, so that's one multiple, 7x. Another multiple is the lowest on the past studies that I showed you, 12.5. Another multiple, 25x. That's a pretty standard software multiple. And another multiple would be 50x. And we know that Langchain was priced at 90x. We know that SoundHound initially, when we started looking at it, had a multiple in the 35x range, but I would say now it's down in the 20 to 25x range because the price has come down. But those are 4 multiples we can use. And you can, when you sit at home, you can change all of that. So what do? You take 120 million and you multiply it by 20% to come up with Railtown's source of that revenue. Again, it just has to, at some point, be calculable as going to happen, and it can be in the future. It can be this year, next year. Maybe it gets all sorted by 28. All it has to be is knowable. And then once it's hooked up, it lasts 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long data centers remain the AI 2.0 computer of choice. So you get 24 million as Railtown's share of the annual recurring revenue. Well, you know, there's 225 million shares outstanding, fully diluted. It's actually a little less than that. You divide that. That gives you 10 0.66, 10.67 cents per share in ARR. So you take the 120 million, which is in the documents. It could be much higher than that, double, treble, but just we're going to get a rock bottom number. You take 20% of that, you divide it by 225 million shares, you get 10.67 cents per share in annual recurring revenue. And then you just take that number, multiply it by 7, multiply it by 12 and a half, 25.50. You come up with different numbers. If you multiply it by 7, 75 cents a share. Where's the stock trading right now? Where's the stock right now? I'm telling you, that's at 7x on the lowest projectable revenue that we know about. If you do it at 12.5x, it's $1.33 a share. If you do it at 25x, and you can do whatever number you want. You don't have to do my numbers. It's $2.66. And if you do it at 50, which I actually think is a low number for a company that's going to have huge revenue and it's going to be growing, it's $5.34. These numbers may be slightly discounted or not. If you take one of the lower multiples, you're already discounting. You're already bringing it, future revenues from the future to today reflected in the price. You're already discounting it. But these numbers, these revenue numbers can be calculated as soon as a research analyst sits down and studies it and she can publish her report. Our opportunity, and it is an opportunity, is everybody's going to be on vacation for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We can buy. But as soon as that information gets in the heads of Bay Street and Wall Street, they'll do these calculations. And this discount, this blood in the streets discount, will disappear. Of course, my handwriting is messy, but you come up with 10 cents a share in annual recurring revenue as your base. Of course, there's still risk. They still have to execute. I'm not saying that there aren't things that we have to see, like execution and etc. And the execution in this case is going to depend on Dr. Tom Core moving that revenue over, that hosting over. But it'll get done. No matter how slow he is, once it gets hooked up, that's there for essentially, from an investment standpoint, forever. At 7x, that's 75 cents. At At 12.5x, it's $1.33. At 25x, it's $2.66. At 50x, it's $5. Let me show you that number in the documents. Remember, it's my point of view, which you don't have to share, that the stock price is telling you nothing about fundamentals. There are those of you who believe that if it were so good, somebody would be front running. I don't agree with you. But, you know, that's why everybody has a nose. They're all different. I believe in Canada, it's a smaller market, but this is a country that in general leaves their doors unlocked and they don't use guns in general. It's like a different attitude up there. It's like those French have a different word for everything. All right, let's, it's 29 to 29.96, 367,000 in volume. Now it's showing 32,840. That I think is the real number. I think the real number is 10% of the, less than 10% of the posted volume. But can't prove it, but that's what it looks like. All right, let me go through your comments before I show anything. I have again called in. I still haven't gotten a return call, but I have gotten pretty good feedback from, you know, people who do, like some of you who do a lot of their own analysis. And Jeff made it to number one. There's only one direction you can go now. Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Hawaii. All right, 325. I love it. I love it. That is great. That's how to take advantage. That is how to take advantage. Hawaii. I not bank Hawaii. Everybody think I bank Hawaii. Hey, T. Alex. You're 1, 2, and 3. Hey, Brandon, how are you? Yeah, it's very funny. You came in at 1, 2, and 3. It's 3 o'clock already. Doesn't feel like I've been on that long. Hey, Fast Eddie, how are you? And Akira Nova says, awesome to Hawaii. And Akira Nova also says hi to everyone. And Pat M says, well, all right, you guys. And Akira, how are you? TAI says hi to everyone. All right, here comes Ward Richardson. Always has good points of view. Good afternoon, William. And RT Crew did a lot of research on TELUS and AMD partnerships. There are a lot of things going on behind the scenes with both of these companies pertaining to RT, which would explain the lack of press releases. Yes, that's another thing. It's a very interesting point, Ward, that, you know, somebody that is an investor suggested to me, not not someone associated with the company. That in retrospect, even though many people, including me, got a little pissy about the delay in closing AIP, the magnitude of the surprise TELUS announcement was so great. Of course, the shorts just want you to think it's bad news. They don't care. They just want to drive it to the path of least resistance, cause you anxiety, and you finally say, the stock's red all the time, William's wrong, his judgment is horrible. I'd rather listen to somebody who can read odds at a poker table instead of somebody that tries to understand the fundamentals. You know, quick snap assessments that sound good. And it works usually in a trading environment. Railtown has never been hot money. I just didn't know it'd be this cold for so long. I didn't know. I wish I had had better foresight. But I think you're going to catch up, and you're going to see all this waiting is preparation and opportunity. And that might be the job we have to do, is prepare for what we're going to do when this stock is $3, when it's $5. What are we going to do then? What are we going to do when it's 8, when it's 12, when it's 15? And we're not going to point to Tony Tiptoe and say, ha ha, we told you so. We're just going to be grateful he's been positive on the stock. He was negative when it was 29 cents in June. And you know what? Maybe he should have stayed negative until December. It's very hard. I'm teasing. It's very hard to pick the bottom of any trade, any investment. As soon as I pointed out 52.5 on the ask, they've changed it now. It's 30,000, 60,000. And I think there was now there's 10,000, 60,000, 10,000. They want you to think 30,000. They want to think there's so much stock for sale. There isn't. But we're suckers. We fall for it every time. We have to turn the narrative on its head and say, just like Ward is pointing out, there's a lack of press releases. Probably in those releases are full disclosure items. Once those come out, research comes out, and buying can come in. What can we do prior to that? We can take advantage, and we can add to our position. So instead of feeling like, oh, this is just like every other time, and oh, we're victims again. No, we're going to go on the offense. Sometimes you got to get plumb mean. And I mean you've got to be plumb mad dog mean. Because that's all that separates living and dying. I can't remember it exactly. But it's time to get mean. Just buy. Or hold. Just be stubborn. You're going to hold. You're going to hold. And blame me for the delays. Don't blame the company. Don't blame the market. Don't blame yourselves. Have confidence. You've done the due diligence. You know the story. And once the story is public, more than it is now, buying is going to come in. You know who are the best buyers? The most logical? The guys at AIP. They're not. I don't think they have any board position or managerial position. And I think the reason for that is so they can buy the stock. Omers and Mavericks. They won't be, I doubt they'll be buying before the end of the year. So that gives you time to come in. And you are more powerful for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, approximately, than all those big institutions in Canada and all those wealthy whales and all those individuals who are insiders. You are more powerful because you can buy based on just putting some pieces of public information together. You can assess that forward revenues at a minimum will show up at 10 or 11 cents a share at a minimum. If you put 10x on that, 10x, it's $1 a share target. $1 a share target. And the stock's trading for 29 cents. You're pretty powerful right now. But we just got to change our sense of where we are and be brave, obviously, but also just act. Very few times that you get that long of a lag between information that's out there, but you know, these desks have dozens, if not hundreds of deals and companies to sort through. And so one of their parameters is anything under $2, we're not going to look at. And you'd wonder, well, why not? That would be a huge gain. It would be, but they don't care about that. They want to keep their job, number one. And number two, when it's $2, $3, $4, $5 and they come in, those gains from $5 to $15 or $25, those are real gains. Institutionally, they can charge their 2%, 20%. By having a blanket rule, they avoid all the GTIIs and the vocals and the other stocks, you know. So it all makes sense. Silver Skyrocket. Hello, William. Hello, Silver Skyrocket. Donna says, good afternoon, William and RT Peeps. And Ward Richardson says, AMD has evolved from a pure semiconductor manufacturer into a full stack platform company for AI and data centers. Yeah, that's the lingo, full stack. I think I don't really know what's incorporated in a full stack, but I know a full stack when I see them. Donna, hello and thanks, Ward. Donna, Railtown volume 367. It's actually 371 that I'm seeing right now. I think that's mostly dark trades, although I saw a series of 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 go off. So maybe just someone is sick of it and getting out. If you are thinking of selling, just notice how much volume is absorbed without the stock collapsing. My opinion, Donna, is that nothing, and I can't prove it, but nothing with the volume in the United States is going to move the price of the stock, because those flash boy, the programmed computer selling and buying, they have parameters. They never let you buy at the ask or higher, so we can't move it up. Maybe they have an incentive to let us sell it downward if we're selling. However, there's always the arbitrage that somebody else's computer is going to do with the prices up in Canada. And the volume right now in Canada is 116,000 shares. So this could be somebody just vomiting the stock, or it's programmed arbitrage and otherwise selling. Well, we'll actually never know, because your Congress doesn't want you to know. Hey, Joe, Marty. Good afternoon, William and RT crew. Good afternoon to you. Waiting on money to clear for the Christmas sale on rail. Exactly. You know, oh, I forgot to put up, because I'm really strapped for cash, but I'm trying to liquidate my last bit of my previous self, but I can't get the legend off the shares. Every day I call on that. Anyway, we'll see. I don't know, depending on what's left over, I might have a chance to buy a little bit of Railtown by the end of the year too, but it doesn't look like I'll be able to. But I'm trying. I know you're going to say I am very trying. I know what you're thinking. Ward Richardson, RT is being integrated into the AMD Helios rack scale architecture platform. Well, that's helpful to know. I don't know what all that is. But anyway, it's being integrated, which sounds downright proper. RT's 184 affiliated partners will be funneled into the AMD ecosystem. Wow. But how does that have anything to do with TELUS? And what is a rack scale architecture platform? It looks like hell on wheels. Neil Gondik, good morning, Bill and fellow RT investors. I will be attending the AGM on Wednesday. Are there any questions the group would like you to ask? Please let me know and I will ask. How much does an African swallow weigh? Ward Richardson. Hello, Donna. Sure thing. I have a lot more news that I'll bring to all of you throughout the week. That's huge news on the Helios rack scale architecture platform. I don't know what it is. The AM deal is a lot to digest for now. It sure is. It sure is. Where can we find out about it? Donna says, that's great, Eric B., although I think she means Neil G. I can't wait to hear what you have to report. Ward says, Neil G., that is fantastic. I don't think you're going to learn a lot at the meeting, but maybe you can get there early or stay late and, get a tour. But I don't know, is the meeting at the office or is that a hotel? I've been to a lot of annual meetings. It's at some hotel or some, dark hallway of an old office building. Mr. Stav, up today. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, it is up. You're right. In Canada, it's up 1.25, just like you say. Just like you say. And there's a big bid, 36,500. There's 116,500 volume in Canada, but in the United States, the home of the used to be free and still the home of the brave, 29 to 29.6, 371,000 is the volume. Fingers down 8 cents at $1.49. GDC is down 7 cents at 381. And G-Bucks, always an exciting stock, is down 0.0006 at 0.0674 last trade. And Railtown joining in, it's down 0.0024 in the US of A, down 1% basically. But we know the mechanisms they use to mine pennies, mine half pennies, mine more than that every single day. Donna says, that's great, Ward. And Giuseppe says, hi, William, and then to all the good people here, hello to you. Giuseppe, Ward, you were always out scooping us in an amazing way. I always outscoop my cat. Ward Richardson, Giuseppe Ingrao, thank you. I like to keep everybody here informed on what their investment is doing for us all. Exactly. And Steve's here as well. All right, so now I can go through some, hi Steve, can go through some of what I stored up. I'm going to give you my own opinion of why press releases from TELUS may be a little bit slow in coming. TELUS is a very important institution in Canada, and they have a lot of social responsibilities. News comes out, everything has to wait in its proper place and proper time, because it's a new generation of outlook, and one can't fault the heart of wanting to change the world, because it's been so difficult for everybody other than a certain subset of the human race. They've had it fine. But I would remind everyone here that I don't remember when Hobbes lived. It wasn't too long ago. But he said that life is brutish and short. He might have said it's hard, brutish, and short. But he wasn't only talking about everyone else. He was including that subset of human being. We've all been blessed. My opinion, I know everyone else says it's computers, and there's a strong argument to be made that it's silver. But in my opinion, what's changed all of our lives is oil and the abundance of energy. And it's allowed us all to live incredible lives. And I think the idea of the United States has given us in North America, well, in the United States, and I'd say North America, a good life as well. But we're changing that for some reason. We're changing that. Misguided experiments. Sorry, that's my coffee because my voice is getting... All right, let me show you why I think news might be slow, because you've got news stories in the hopper that are important, but not to us, but to TELUS they're important. TELUS partners with AMC, FN, FAO, and Kanichi to bring essential connectivity to Indigenous women at risk in Manitoba. TELUS announced the launch of its Mobility for Good for Indigenous Women at Risk program in Manitoba, in partnership with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, First Nations Family Advocate Office, and Kanichiik, providing wireless services to Indigenous women that may be at risk of or experiencing violence across the province. So these things are important, but they might take precedence over some of the news we want to see. While First Nations, Métis, and Inuit women and girls comprise only 4% of the total female population in Canada, they represent 24% of female homicide victims. That really is horrible. It's really horrible. Quote, indigenous women, girls, and a long string of consonants with one vowel, 2SLGBTQQIA+, people continue to face unacceptable levels of violence. I think we can all agree on that. And it is terrible. But anyway, TELUS has these social responsibilities too to announce. TELUS is proud to partner with the AMC, FNFAO, and Kanichiik to expand this important program. This partnership with TELUS is a step toward addressing the challenges that Indigenous women face. So we can all agree it's important, but we can also recognize that when news needs to come out of TELUS, their priorities aren't always the financial deal with a small company. It's important things like this. Since TELUS launched the program in 2021, more than 6,000 individuals have been supported through 39 partner organizations. A collaborative approach is essential to effectively address the urgent issue of MMIWG2S+, said Tammy Hamlin, Director of Programs. This partnership demonstrates the power of collective action and highlights the importance of working together to create lasting change. Anyway, to date, TELUS Connecting for Good and TELUS Wise programs have supported 1.5 million individuals. I submit part of the reason that we wait is something that's so important to us is down the list, maybe, to big organizations who also have social priorities and also government. They're also a utility, so they have other financing and dividend and things like that to work on as well. So they'll get through their hopper. It'll come to the news that matters to us. but it's not always the first in their line of priority. All right, I'm going to go through some, not all. Of course, this is going to tell me I'm trying to show you too much. It'll say, you sure have a lot of files. But I'm going to show you what we know from information. I'm sure this is already out of date, but this kind of information is going to be in front of institutions in Canada. And it's certainly going to be in front of research analysts. And then it's going to be incorporated, this information, but also the maybe Zoom calls. I don't know how road shows are done anymore. Probably Zoom calls or you know, Facebook Friends or whatever it's called. But anyway, there'll be interaction with research analysts. A lot of this information that you know, and you're not precluded from acting on it. They are, but it's right here. It's out there. It's just not enough information. This information is out there. But there's some other information which I would suggest to you is primarily TELUS, but it could be other things. It could be this AMD that Ward is talking about. All right, so this is the investor presentation from Railtown, November 2025. So this is a month old, less than a month old, really. But this is the presentation I've referred to you over and over and over again. The second page of the presentation emphasizes that Railtown essentially is part of a national campaign to build Canadian AI in Canada. They want to develop a Canadian ecosystem of AI far away from the clutches of Donald Trump. They list the Railtown partners. By the way, I'm not putting up every page. This is a long presentation. I'm not putting up every page. If you want it, send me your email at farrandbalanced, my last name, farrandbalanced@gmail.com. So here are the partners. And you'll see here, over here, AMD is certainly one of Railtown's partners. And up on the, taking up the whole top line is Microsoft. And over here, you'll see NVIDIA. But right there in the middle, you see TELUS. It's a pretty big deal. Or as Joe Biden would say, this is a big effing deal. All right, there's the mission statement. Railtown AI Technologies is dedicated to the one they love, is dedicated to transforming the way agentic lead software is built, deployed, and scaled by delivering intelligent AI frameworks, as well as observability solutions, which solve problems before they happen. That sounds good. Accelerate innovation, strengthen, well, there it is again, the Canadian AI marketplace, And through our 5 integrated divisions, we provide developers, enterprises, and AI companies with the tools, infrastructure, and ecosystem access they need to thrive in an AI-driven world. So they go through their divisions. One is software as a solution services. It's the Conductor DPE, which is an agent manager and engineering platform. The Conductor RCA, root cause agent. And he goes through, or they go through, the value proposition. Conductor DPE powers AI development teams with real-time insights into AI agent runtime, agent reasoning, token costs, developer velocity, error tracking, root cause analysis, deployment monitoring. Conductor RCA, root cause agent, fully integrated inside Microsoft's Visual Studio. That sounds pretty powerful. Delivering instant local level analysis of errors with suggested fixes, reduced debugging time dramatically, reducing debugging time dramatically. I'd make one quick observation. If Railtown has lost a step and someone's caught up with them, wouldn't it be Microsoft? But instead, Microsoft uses Conductor RCA. I don't know. Maybe that's not a strong observation. The strategic position. This Conductor DPE and Conductor RCA are placed as the essential productivity layer. The essential productivity layer for modern AI workflows, improving time to market, code quality, and operational efficiency. So there's second division, Agentic Frameworks division. The products are Conductor ADK, short for Agent Developer Kit, and Conductor RAG. We're doing the Conductor RAG. Universal Retriever and Ingestion Engine. I can see where they get the R. I can see kind of where they get the G. I don't see where they get the RAG from, the A from, but whatever. The value proposition. Empower developers to build and deploy complex real-time AI agents with robust retrieval and ingestion capabilities. It's streamlined integration with Conductor AI Cloud for deployment. That sounds pretty good. The strategic position. This establishes Railtown as a platform provider in the agent economy, enabling next generation AI-powered applications. So that implies there might be more than one of these doing the Conductor RAG. But it's a big marketplace, as we'll see. All right, the third one is iCloud Compute Services. Cost, the value proposition. Cost-effective, developer-friendly cloud hosting optimized for deploying AI agents built with our frameworks. Built-in data sovereignty safeguards, crucial for regulated industries and Canadian businesses. And what's the strategic position? This differentiates Railtown from hyperscalers by providing targeted, developer-focused iCloud or cloud infrastructure with competitive pricing and sovereignty compliance. That sounds like Railtown is the only place to be in that case. You can interpret it your way. That's how I see it. Okay, the fourth division is open source project. RailTrax ADK as opposed to Conductor ADK. Value proposition. RailTrax ADK is a student community version of our Conductor ADK designed for Canadian universities. Well, obviously we can ho-hum there, but you're training a whole class and class after class of the future deployers of technology on Railtown software. Supports AI education, fosters early adoption, and seeds a future developer base skilled in Railtown tools. So this strategic position, this places Railtown as a foundational contributor to Canada's AI ecosystem, creating a talent pipeline and strengthening our brand among future industry leaders. Pretty strong. 5, fifth division, AI partnerships. That's what they just bought for under 50 million shares. The value proposition. It's a curated, they selected the best of the best. It's a curated marketplace of hundreds of Canadian AI companies. This marketplace provides affiliates, all of these companies, with access to all of Railtown's products, frameworks, and cloud services, while enabling those affiliates to showcase and sell their own solutions. Railtown is the platform. Strategic position. This creates a network effect which drives product adoption, expands market reach, and builds the definitive Canadian AI business hub. And the advantage of that is by integrating developer productivity tools, agent creation frameworks, specialized AI cloud infrastructure, open source ecosystem support, and a nationwide AI marketplace. Railtown AI Technologies occupies a unique position. We are not just selling products. We are building the infrastructure, community, and the market channels for a thriving AI-powered future. This integrated model creates exceptional potential for accelerated revenue growth. This from premium SaaS services to high-margin cloud and compute channels. By tightly coupling developer tools, agent frameworks, cloud infrastructure, and marketplace access, we open multiple recurring revenue streams that scale together. Multiple. Scale. Here's a picture. Railtown AI Technologies. You got your services. conductor DPE, and conductor RCA. You got your frameworks, conductor RAG and conductor ADK. You got your AI compute, which is conductor AI cloud, which I think we all know right now that's Teles's sovereign AI data center. And you've got your open source provided by Railtrack's ADK, a Railtown AI technology, Roadhouse. Marketplace. You also have the AI Partnerships Corporation Marketplace. There you go. You got 5 distinct daughter companies with the parent being Railtown AI Technologies. Another picture. So the problem is data comes into developer teams from all different sources. You got ticket data, which is GitHub, and I can't read all that here. Let me look it up and I'll read it to you. I'll zoom in. I'll zoom in so I can read it. Instead of saying I can't read it, I'll find a solution to the problem. Maybe. All right, so you got ticket data. So that you got to, for example, process GitHub data, Azure DevOps, or Atlassian. Then you've got DevOps data, which could come from Jenkins, Circle CI, or Terraform, which is a HashiCorp product. And then you've got application log data, which could come from Google Analytics, SolarWinds Loggly, and Splunk as examples. And then you've got documentation data, which can come from Google Docs, or N, which I guess is, I don't know, Netscape, NVIDIA, children's alphabet blocks. And then you've got code, GitHub and Azure DevOps. And so all of that requires different skills, different software applications, maybe different computer, the difference between Google or Microsoft or Safari. Who knows? So you got all this complicated stuff. What the problem is data fragmentation. None of the prominent data providers seamlessly integrate and understand the full scope of a client's application. What's the solution? You unify all that data. Where do you do it? Conductor, Roadhouse. Solution is data unification. Conductor provides a single platform that comprehensively ingests and unifies all application data, making sense of all of it. Sounds pretty powerful. So one of the descriptive pages, they had many more, discussed agent development kit for building AI agents. Maybe this will help us understand what that means. Doesn't really help me that much. Agentic framework. What are agent development kits for building AI agents? Well, it is an agentic framework for building autonomous AI agents. They enables dynamic interaction with large language models tools and APIs in order to solve complex tasks. An ADK simplifies integration by handling low-level engineering so developers can focus on architecture and innovation, on being productive. Enhances control over model deployment, data security, and infrastructure. Streamlines deployment, accelerating time to market, time to making money for AI power applications. Here's a picture. Every picture tells a story, don't it? Every picture tells a story, don't it? Every picture tells a story, don't it? Shanghai Lil never used the pill. She said it just ain't natural. All right, so up top, you got your APIs, whatever those are. But those are the programs that the hosting companies sell to end users, but they host them this way. This is how I read this. They're on top of, in this big yellow oval on the right, they're on top of the Thales data center, but they go through the conductor ADK. The conductor ADK provides memory, LLMs, and tools, all of which are housed on the Thales computer, the data center, for storage, for large language models, for API and MCP servers, and Docker. It's beyond my understanding of all this, but that's what happens. The key is, it looks like conductor is the critical interface to make the whole thing happen. At least in the case, my operating theory, until proven wrong, is in the case of Thales, Thales has decided to make conductor their number one. Their number one. Here's another picture. I don't know what webhooks are, but you've got ingestion using the conductor RAG, and then you have storage all in that because of conductor, but also because of Thales and AI services, agents, co-pilots, assistants, chatbots, all through the Thales data center, computer power, storage, memory, and large language models. But it all works with and because of conductor. That's how I read it. Let's see what this says. Industry information, AI frameworks. Understanding agentic AI frameworks. AI agent frameworks are tools for constructing and launching AI agents. These frameworks offer a suite of tools, libraries, and predefined components, which is what I think LangChain focuses on, these predefined components, but we'll find out. And predefined components that streamline the development process and empower businesses to create intelligent applications without an deep AI skill set. Sounds like I could do it. What are the benefits of using AI agent frameworks? You have reduced development time and costs. So that's self-explanatory. It increases scalability. It makes them highly scalable and flexible to evolving business needs. Improved efficiency, because all the boring stuff, the repetitive stuff is automated. The human beings can work on better things. Enhanced accuracy and consistency. An AI agent can do repetitive tasks faster, better, and with fewer mistakes than human beings. Seamless integration, which is also self-explanatory. AI agents and agent development kits, market growth outlook. This is a very cluttered and I think confusing market. But if you look under the AI agents market growth up on the left and the ADKs, but then just come over to the summary, you can see those other numbers. But if you just come to the bottom right-hand box, summary and takeaways, you can see that by the end of the decade, you're looking at a minimum at a $50 billion annual market. It could be a lot more, but $50 billion market annually. I mean, obviously, if you use the capital research penetration number of 3%, you're looking at 150 million in recurring revenue for Railtown, just penetrating that by 3%. I have no idea if that's a valid way to calculate it. So let's leave it up to the research analysts. But just at a minimum projection, that's a source of revenue, which, by the way, I completely ignored in my other presentation. All right, let's compare quickly Railtown to Langtrax. I'm going to be negative. The last time I showed you in a positive way. Langchain doesn't do the first, the third, the fifth, it's a question mark. The sixth it doesn't do. The seventh, kind of a question mark. It doesn't do the eighth or ninth benefit that Conductor does. By the way, Google is half and half as well. I expect Google can catch up, who knows? But maybe Google catches up by buying Railtown. Ever think of that? The second page. Langchain doesn't do the first, second, really not the third, fifth, sixth, eighth, probably not the ninth, 11th, probably not the 12th, or 13th. Doesn't do any of them. And it's valued at 1.25 billion on an estimated revenue of 12 to 16 million annual recurring revenue. That was the valuation. Railtown revenue model. Railtown AI Technologies is monetizing its newly announced partnership with TELUS through the deployment of our agentic frameworks within TELUS's sovereign AI data factory. While TELUS provides the hosting and the compute infrastructure for large language models, Railtown contributes its proprietary agentic frameworks, which we just went through, and I'm sure it clarified everything for you. These frameworks are tools that enable the creation, orchestration, and management of autonomous AI agents. Hyperscalers, such as TELUS, like TELUS, require, it's not optional. It's not by choice. They require frameworks or developer toolkits, ADKs, in order to make their hosted large language models truly usable. So TELUS needs Conductor's ADK and Railtrack's ADK in order to make TELUS's large language models usable. Without these frameworks, it is extremely challenging, therefore no one will do it, for customers to build, deploy, or interact with AI agents effectively. By the combination of TELUS's secure domestic AI compute environment with Railtown's frameworks, customers are able to efficiently build and deploy AI agents, all while ensuring their data remains within Canada's borders. The revenue model is usage-based. The stock's going to close in a minute, and it'll be down on the day. The revenue model is usage-based and directly tied to the success of AI deployments. The stock just closed at $29.18, down 0.003 cents, down 1%. The bid is 29, the ask 29.72, the volume 389,000. I would say 92% of which is fake sales. I don't know about the buys. Last trade, 8,000 shares at 29.18. Somebody just, that looks kind of like a real trade. Then 825 shares at 29, 200 shares at 29.21, 8,889 shares at 29.3, and 1,000 shares at 29.24. Looks like G-Bucks closed 6.74 cents, GDC $3.70, Finger $1.48, and we'll leave it there. The markets were all in the red today. We're getting into the quiet period of the market, so we're going to implement our plan, which is to hold or to buy Railtown while nobody else knows the story, and essentially no one major that can move the stock price is allowed to buy the stock. That's our plan. And we have about 2 to 3 weeks to enact our plan. For every agent built with Railtown's frameworks and deployed on TELUS's platform, Railtown receives a net percentage. So by definition, the way I read that, when I read net percentage, the costs are already out of there. They're already out. So I think that means pretty much as close to 100% payout as you can get. Railtown receives a net percentage of the compute revenues generated by TELUS. So the question is, will every agent be built with Railtown's frameworks? I think so. And will they all be deployed on TELUS's platform? Obviously, it is their data center. I think everything that runs through that data center will cause Railtown to receive a net percentage of the compute revenues generated, charged by TELUS to the end users. Now, we'll find out about that. That's where we make these broad assumptions based on what we know and how we read the information. We'll find out as research comes out, as earnings are released and as the company makes further presentation, and maybe in news stories. I doubt it though. But for now, we have to work with what we know. This aligns incentives between TELUS and Railtown. The more AI agents businesses build and run using Railtown's frameworks on TELUS's data center and infrastructure, the more revenue Railtown captures, creating a scalable and mutually beneficial monetization strategy. That sounds powerful to me. Here's a description of it. The Railtown AI plus TELUS Corp Compute Partnership. You got the Conductor ADK at the top, which links the Conductor suite of offerings to the TELUS data center. And the critical link is the Conductor ADK. And you see the arrow I highlighted in yellow? TELUS intends to upsell their services, upsell their customers to the Conductor platform. Question is, will it be all customers, or is somebody else on the platform to poach opportunity from Railtown? I believe it's going to be all customers. I don't see any mention of competitors, but that little bit we have to find out. And then down here, Conductor Cloud Agent Hosting, the arrow goes to the data center. And then Railtown will run a consulting business. All right, let's get into the numbers. This is a discussion of the partnership we waited so long to happen. The key numbers here, it's 180 companies. They've already picked out 1 to 5 companies. Actually, they've identified under acquisition plan, it says identified 3 to 5 shortlisted acquisition targets. That's great to know, but they're not going to do anything under $3. We don't know for sure, but they're not going to do it down here. And they're probably going to do it, I would think, over $5 a share. But the affiliates target 5,000 clients, they already have. And up here in the yellow, 170 affiliates with a combined 400 million in revenues and 5,000 end user clients. This acquisition and consolidation strategy roll-up is how they're going to add those revenues to the parent company's financials. The accretive strategy is to buy them at a discount, and then through working together and providing that awful word synergies across the network, you enhance the multiple. But anyway, guess what? In the calculation I started all this with, I'm ignoring this revenue. Totally ignoring this revenue. 400 million in total, potentially. Here is a picture. You've got the network at top. They're going to host, they're currently hosting their services on other data centers. They're going to move them to TELUS and run it all through Conductor. And then that's the link to the TELUS Sovereign Data Center. And so there's a symbiotic relationship between TELUS and Railtown, back and forth. And they share the compute revenue. I mean, this describes another picture. So the end users are going to build, whether it's a small shop, medium-sized, big shop, or one person. A developer is going to build and publish AI agents with the AI partnership or one of their specific companies, but they're going to build it with rail tracks and lang tracks. These are the agentic frameworks provided by Railtown. They're going to deploy it on TELUS. Obviously they put Bell on this projection. We haven't heard anything about Bell, but I guess we will. And then, they're already using AWS, Google Cloud, Azure as alternatives, but it's clear that the strategy is to stay in Canada, and the TELUS data center is the only sovereign center built and that's ready to go, by the way, which is green, uses Canada's advantages with energy, hydropower, uses Canada's climate, cold, and uses NVIDIA state-of-the-art NVIDIA chips, and it's ready to go. And it's backed by this Canadian commitment to sovereign AI. Anyway, they'll deploy it on those data centers, and then the conductor agent manager will observe, constantly protecting it, predicting it, helping it to develop self-learning, and also avoiding, hopefully, security breaches and bugs. And then you publish the AI agent on the marketplace so that the one company creating it is able to cross-sell with 200 companies and their end users. This is the strategy. All right, this is the combined Railtown and AIP competitive moat. That's a new lingo. The point is, can somebody else enter this space quickly and without a high expense? Or does the 6-year start on Railtown has mean anything? And odds are, it sounds bigger in time than it is, because as things move forward, technology advances. But is it first to market? Is it best in class? We don't know for sure. I believe it is. I don't think there is a competitor. But what we do know at the basic is that TELUS chose Railtown. And then we know down here in box number 6 that Railtown is going to move the affiliates who currently spend $120 million per year with other hyperscalers to TELUS. That's what that says. Okay, here's the people involved. You've got Corey Brandolini, who has 30 years of experience in high-growth software and technology companies. He co-founded other companies in these spaces. And he was an investor, I don't know if he did more, in a company called T-Leo, which was acquired by Microsoft. Marwan Haddad is the CTO. And for a decade, he developed platforms for Fortune 500 companies. He's an electrical engineer and etc. But he's one of the brains. They're two of the founders of Railtown. And then there's Dr. Elliot Holtham, who's a brainiac, and I would put him in the category of professorial, but he's one of the founders, and he's got an extensive and impressive background, including quantum computing. Then Dr. Tom Core is now a board member of Railtown, but he's originally an AIP founder, and he ran the Ontario Centre of Excellence and a research park and the University of Waterloo. He was an associate there. Pat Horgan from IBM, where his entire career was technology. He also is a founder of AIP, but he's now on the board of Railtown. So these two gentlemen bring their impressive knowledge and expertise to the board. The key people, these are advisory board members for Railtown. What does that really mean to me? They can invest in the stock. They can be cut off from material information when need be, which is good for them. And I think that's where they want to be, because that's what they want to do, is own this stock. That's my opinion. All right, Dr. Eldad Haber, he co-founded Extract AI, which was bought out by Patriot One. Kevin O'Neill, a Merrill Lynch dude, he was also the CEO of Extract AI, which was bought by Patriot One Technologies. Michael Norbrega, former president and CEO of the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System, OMERS, one of Canada's largest pension funds, with more than $100 billion in assets under management. And he also was CEO of Infrastructure subsidiary. John Ruffalo, and both of these guys, AIP founders, but they're on the advisory board now. He's a founder and managing partner of Mavericks Private Equity, founder of OMERS Ventures, an organization which he ran for 8 years. OMERS Ventures remains the venture capital arm of the OMERS Pension Fund. He invested over $500 million via this fund in 40 disruptive technology companies. And then you have Cameron Schuler, who worked with Amy and has an impressive resume himself. Here's the cap table published in November, 172,538,000. So if you call it 172.5, you add 50 to it, you get to 222,500,000. And then you've got employee options and some warrants, which probably sit under 25 million. But if you add actually, I'm sorry, those are already included in this number. They're right there. I just saw that. The warrants are right there, and the employee options are right there. So this is the fully diluted number. You add 50 million to it, you get 222,500,000. The founders, directors, and employees and other insiders own 38% of the company. They're not selling. They're not selling. this is all the disclaimer from the company. You can read it while I leave it up there. It's basically saying everything is a forward-looking statement and could be entirely wrong. It's basically what it says. I don't know what this is. I hope it's not something private. Oh, it's the disclaimer. Sorry. So maybe I ran out of things to show you today. I guess I did. Maybe we should. I'm going to show, right now, I'm going to just show my Venmo. And I thank everyone that's helped me on Venmo. I still need help, so that's why I'm asking. It is Christmas, so don't distract from your ability to provide presents. And please don't put any money here that you could otherwise use on Railtown. But I do appreciate any support. That's Venmo, and I'll put up Zelle, and there's my Zelle, which I'll leave for a little while so it's easy to find. The Texas Rangers have signed Tyler Alexander in a important update. The Twins signed Josh Bell. All right, that's enough time on that. My begging is over. Thank you, everybody, for helping me out. If you do, if you don't, thank you for being here. I'm not trying to put pressure on anybody. William might be napping now. What happened? What happened? You guys didn't hear any of that? What was I napping about? You didn't hear any of those? Oh, Lordy. What's wrong? My microphone still is on. What's this button mean? Now I don't want to leave. My audio is still on. I don't know. Sorry. I thought you could hear me. Or maybe he's on the horn with RT right now. By the way, TELUS has a new PR out this morning. Let's look at it. The only one I found is the one I read to you. They announced TELUS did a share buyback, which that's TELUS it's got mixed research coverage. There's a lot of negativity, some sell recommendations, but some companies have buy recommendations. Their dividend is very high, which shows doubt that dividend will continue. But anyway, the way I read that, it's a massive company with huge revenues. The way I read it is they are going to pay attention to this data center and making sure that revenues come through that data center. And Eric asks Ward, the NCIB of 500 million, what's an NCIB? NCIB. I'm slow on the uptick. What is an NCIB? The National Canadian Investment Banker Association. I don't know what that means. Ward says, yes, Eric, this is good news. They will buy back 500 million of their shares for the next 12 months. That's a sign of confidence. It also makes it a pretty good dividend stock, I think, Ward. What is it? Let me just see. TSE raised to buy at Canaccord. Darn it. I didn't want that. I wanted TSE. No, not TAE. TSE stock that's ITSE. All right, so the yield is, I don't want that, darn it. I can't find the yield. TLS, yes. Let me just spell TELUS. I guess I'm just putting in the wrong stock symbol. There it is. Okay, so it closed down today at 1278. But the dividend right now, Ward, is 9.5%. Obviously, any dividend that high runs the risk that it's going to be cut. But as you're pointing out, there's two ways to reward shareholders: buy back stock or pay dividends. I mean, there's other things you can do too, but those are two pretty simple ways. So I'd say the fact that they've announced they're going to buy back stock might be an indication they're not going to reduce their dividend payout. All of it is probably by way of saying they expect their revenues to grow, as I showed you, particularly from this, they call it enabling of AI, but the data center, up to over $2 billion for the next 2 years or so. Rest in peace, Meathead. Yeah, I think what a horrible way to go. He did live a long life, and he seems to have a wonderful relationship with his wife and 3 great children, but just horrible at the end. I started to not listen to him because he was so vituperative in his comments about Donald Trump. I think he was over the edge. But on the other hand, as you know, and it was different, by the way, back in the 70s with Archie Bunker. Some of those causes made sense. I think he saw in his mind, I think he saw that Donald Trump was Archie Bunker, and I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a horrible way to die, and it's horrible that his son would do it. It's just, it's a tragedy. It's also terrible, the killings on the Bondi Beach, apparently during Hanukkah. And by the way, I wish everybody happy Hanukkah. But just terrible, terrible. And then you have soldiers killed in the Middle East. You have this just shocking um, shootings at Brown University. And there's other things. In Italy, a young woman was raped at a metro stop by 3 men. And Ukraine is falling apart. Europe wants war. And they're even threatening, apparently, to sell all of their U.S. Treasury bonds so we go to war against Russia. I don't know what's going on, but the world has lost its collective mind. As historians might argue, the world lost its mind, Europe lost its mind almost 100 years ago. Well, over 100 years ago in the First World War, but almost 100 years ago in the Second World War. And it's a shame. And I wonder if back then the power of the press linked with the banksters and the arms dealers to foment war, I wonder if it was as powerful as it seems to be now. On the other hand, I don't think you're going to get young men and women to go to war. The same instant information that allows the speeding up of emotion in the electorate, I think also teaches all of us that we all, as John Kennedy said, we all live on this same small planet. We all breathe the same air, and we don't want to be in these wars. But that's led to automated war, drones and little dog soldiers, and even soldiers like out of RoboCop or something like that, or Terminator. It's a frightening thing. But it all uses AI, so I guess we have that to look forward to. Ward Richardson. Richard, I heard that this morning. It's just terrible. It is horrible. I understand one of his sons, Nick. Nick is being held. Yeah. Richard, the kid was disturbed, so sad. Yes, it's really sad. It's really sad. All right, it's 4:30. Thank you, Clay. As ever, thank you. I appreciate it very much. So what else can we talk about? Maybe not too much. Maybe we'll just keep it short today. But let me just see if there's any headlines that matter. Reiner's son's rage. It was a huge argument. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They lived well. They lived well, but what a horrible thing. This Hanukkah attack on Bondi Beach is equally disturbing and tragic. A dam broke in Washington. It triggers life-threatening flash floods, and there was an earthquake just north of Seattle. I hope all that nuclear waste that comes from years of Hannaford and weapons development stays put, but we we ignore that risk. Oh my gosh. What country is this happening in? In Swindon, Wiltshire, a bus driver saves a 17-year-old teenage girl from being kidnapped. I'll let you fill in the rest in your imagination, because we're not allowed to notice certain things. Wow, Trump administration launches U.S. tech force, which seeks to hire 1,000 specialists to build AI infrastructure. That's interesting. The Trump administration has launched a new initiative focused on building artificial intelligence infrastructure and other technology projects to modernize government systems. Sounds like we're going to cut some of the people that work there. The initiative, called U.S. Tech Force, will consist of about 1,000 engineers and other specialists. Quote, join an elite group of technologists to transform the federal government through modern software development. Sounds like they're going to need Roadhouse. And let's see if there's any update on, oops. You never know, there sometimes is. No, I showed you that. There's sort of a short video on introduction to rail tracks, which I showed you already. So nothing new in terms of updates from the company that I see. All right, I guess that'll, oh, I got to read what this. Donna, it's the City of London pulling the strings to try to get us into a war. I agree. Every time peace deal is close. I think it's the banks. I think Europe is in a lot of trouble. You know, they stole something like 100 billion to 150 billion of Russian assets. And I don't think they can give it back. They don't have it. So Russia, Iran, Venezuela, maybe Ulaanbaatar, but certain countries don't have a lot of debt with the West. And so if the banks can cause regime change, those new regimes can borrow from the City of London, and you could put $90 trillion of I was going to say USSR, of Russian wealth up as collateral, but it's not going to work. They're living in a fantasy. You know, this period of time, Russia's industry is prepared for war. They can produce weapons. And by the way, while we were bombing deserts and assaulting mountains basically in the Middle East, they were developing incredible anti-missile, anti-drone, anti-jet, anti-tank systems that can all be fired off at the same time. They developed hypersonic missiles. And so they focused on the new technologies of war, while we essentially reaffirm our ability to bomb brown-skinned people from the air. It's terrible. But Europe's still living in some past, and Russia has industrial power. They have energy. They have Christianity back, believe it or not. I don't know if they have true democracy or not, but their press seems, at least on the international side, it seems more open than even ours. On the other hand, it's limited in its English translation, so can't be sure. But Europe's not ready for war. They need the United States. And I hope Trump, even if you hate him, I hope Trump stands against sending our troops into Europe or against starting a war with Russia. That could escalate rapidly into nuclear war. It's frightening. I don't know what these people are thinking about. It's some sort of sickness. It's some sort of deep-seated obsession with death and with our own self-destruction. I don't know. Yeah, they have a meeting. Every time a peace deal is closed, Zelensky has a meeting with the EU and pulls out. Exactly. I agree with you. Donna says one of the sons of Rob Reiner has been homeless and he's a drug addict. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. What do? You allow them in before it's very difficult because you expose yourself to risk. And crazy. That's one thing, Donna. None of us have the tools to deal with crazy. None of us. Where's Barbara S? Where's Barbara S? Where's Barbara S? Where's Barbara S? I don't know where Barbara S is. Rob Reiner's son arrested and charged in the grisly murder of parents. Rob Reiner's son, Nick, was arrested on Monday in connection with the murder of the Hollywood director and his wife, Michelle, and booked on a $4 million bail. Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, were found dead in their home with knife wounds on Sunday. Reiner was open about his son Nick's drug addiction and made a movie about the family's experience with his drug problem. Wow. According to the New York Post, Nick Reiner has been charged with murder. The couple's daughter, Rami, found the couple in their home with their throats slashed. According to the New York Post, Rob Reiner's troubled son, Nick, has been charged with murder after allegedly fatally stabbing the famed director and his wife Michelle at their Los Angeles home. Nick Reiner, 32, young, who spent years in and out of rehab for drug addiction, is in custody on a $4 million bail, page 6 confirmed. He was detained Sunday night after police discovered the director of The Princess Bride and his longtime spouse had been hacked to death in their mansion, the sources said. The couple's daughter Rami found Rob Reiner, 78, and Michelle Reiner, 68, with their throats slashed around 3:30 p.m. on Sunday, and told cops that she believed a family member should be suspect. Romney told cops she thought that the relative was dangerous, according to the report. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, I wonder if there's some upbeat note we can end on. That's awful. And right at Hanukkah, right at Christmas, it's terrible. All right. I think I might leave it there. All right, you guys. I don't know what Ward's saying. Well, I think William is past being fashionably late. I guess Ward isn't. I don't know. I guess I've screwed up somehow. It's not real easy to like something you know nothing about. Well, I'm sure that sounds mighty cozy, but I don't find you men all that appealing. Family friend, the shocking double homicide has stunned the entertainment world, but for those close to the family, it marked the tragic end of a long-running nightmare driven by their son Nick Reiner's mental illness and addiction. Nick was thought to be using drugs again, and his parents feared for his mental state over the past few months, a family friend told the Post. Rob had been telling people that they're scared for Nick and scared that his mental state was deteriorating. These poor people did everything to help this kid, the friend who lives a few blocks away from the Reiner home said. The tension between Nick and his parents apparently boiled over just 24 hours before Rob and Michelle were reportedly found with their throats slashed. Rob and Nick got into some sort of fight at a holiday party hosted by Conan O'Brien Saturday night. Nick was supposedly off drugs, the source said, but then began hearing he was not so much off of them. Nick has been troubled mentally for his entire life, and they have tried everything to help him, but have been unable to. According to the insider, Rob and Michelle, here it's spelled with one L, spared no expense in their attempt to rehabilitate Nick, sending him to countless facilities over the years. Nick's struggles with substance abuse were severe. At his lowest point, I would assume his lowest point was yesterday, he was badly addicted to a combo of opiates and heroin. All right, enough of that. That's just terrible. Awful. It's not good. All right, I'm going to sign off. I'm just going to check to see nothing new in the world of baseball. God is not on our side because he hates idiots. Idiots. It's for you. All right. Thank you for tuning in. I don't know why Ward and I misconnected here. You know, our prayers go out to the people killed on Bondi Beach. I think it was a Hanukkah celebration. And out to the Reiner family, out to the people killed at Brown University. Man. Anyway, I wish each of you peace, and we'll talk tomorrow. Cheers.